Welcome back to MVP Real Estate Podcast, Season 3, Episode 24. We have Jessie Lang here on the show today. Really interesting story. I guess you could say she stumbled upon real estate, but she didn't really stumble upon it. She just didn't know what career she was starting when she bought her first house at, I think she said it was 22 years old. She kind of walks us through that process of how she got going and how that's led her in a career of teaching other people who might be on the fence or interested in real estate, get on that train and start investing in themselves, starting their own career in real estate. So very interesting show, but let's bring her on. Jessie, thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for giving us some time. Let's start off with your background story, how you got to do real estate where you are.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you, Marcus. Thanks for having me on the podcast. My name is Jessie Lang. I have a 70-unit rental portfolio, and we built it using the Brrrr method. So, this didn't happen overnight. It's kind of a long story of how I got here, but I'll give you the short version. I grew up in Austin, Texas, and came from a very modest background, lower middle class. We had everything we needed, but nothing really extra. So I didn't know anyone doing real estate. We owned our home, but that was about it. And I had no idea that real estate could be a career, but I went to college. I graduated, and society tells you, go to college, graduate, buy a house, have kids, get married, get a job, all the things that you're supposed to do.
The typical roadmap.
The roadmap, right? So I threw most of it out the window, but I did buy a house. I bought a crappy little condo in Austin, Texas for $92,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where did you find the 92?
That was MLS. This was like 2013. So
okay.
Yeah, 10 years ago. Just MLS deals, little grandma's condo, curtains, carpet, it had it all.
Nice.
So I lived there, and I had some roommates, my partner at the time, and then a Craigslist roommate, if that dates, when this was all going down. So we had a girl off Craigslist, and between the two of them, they were paying the mortgage, and it was pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
So I had no idea that this was a model, anything like that. I just was like, people are going to give me money to live in my extra space. Let's go.
Yeah. That's house hacking 101 right there.
Yeah, exactly. Now we know it's called house hacking, but I did not know that at the time. So 2 years go by. I have my big girl job. I'm making $30K a year or whatever out of college. And, things were going pretty good. I was able to save some money. And then, a couple years passed. My partner and I split, and I knew that 3 things. It would be crazy to sell the condo in Austin, Texas, 2014, 15, that I emotionally just couldn't live there myself, and that I couldn't afford the mortgage to just have a vacant house, right? So in the span of 2 weeks, I went from living my life to fully moved out, renting a place, and had 4 college boys who moved into our 3-bedroom condo.
This is new girl right here. So you're in the new girl situation.
Yeah. Well, I moved. I actually didn't watch that, but
she was the only female roommate with 4 others.
Yeah, no, I moved out. I was gone. It was just these 4 boys, and
I gotcha.
Yeah, in the span of 2 weeks, I had somehow pulled together a lease. I got leasing photos. I don't know how I did it, but pulled it all together, and thankfully they stayed for a couple years. They paid on time. They turned out to be great. They could have very well ended my real estate career before I even started if they were bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, they were fantastic. So was renting for a bit, and then ended up doing that 2 more times. I was buying properties in Austin with owner-occupant financing, getting roommates, and then I would buy a new one. One time my roommate even moved with me to the new house and rented out the previous one long-term. So, at the end of a couple of years, I have 3 rentals, and I have my, still big girl job. I'm making a little bit more this time, but not too much more. And I'm like saving, all my bills are covered. I'm saving kind of $2,000 a month almost, like, for a 24-year-old, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, this is sweet. Real estate's awesome. I don't take it serious at this time. Still, I quit my job and I go travel the world for a year.
Nice.
So this was, 2016. And it was life-changing, obviously. Like, if you have the chance to go travel, just do it. Drop everything, make it happen.
Yeah.
Met my wife, had a wild, year adventure. And this was afforded to me by owning real estate. I worked kind of, it didn't really work, but I was able to do it because I had rental properties and 3. Like, we're not talking about like some huge portfolio.
Yeah. I mean, you got to start somewhere, and some people don't even get to the 3. Like we were talking off air, Dan has to get to the 1 or he's going to get yelled at.
Yeah, I'm going to yell. Yeah.
But yeah, you start somewhere and it goes. And when you started, you're saying you're not even taking it seriously, but you're house hacking.
Yeah.
And that's already basically starting your retirement, your lifestyle that you want to create.
This was not at all my thought. I mean, I know that now, but at the time I was like, sweet, people pay me money to live in an asset that I own. I didn't even know it was an asset. I'm just like, here's a house, here's some people, let's go.
Right. And all right, I want to go back a little bit just so people get the scope of how this whole thing worked for you. You're 20. When did you buy? How old were you when you bought your first house? 22?
Okay, so I'm 36 now. And it was like 1 year out of college, 22, 23.
Yeah, so 22, 23. Where did you find the 90-something thousand to buy that first condo?
Oh, no, absolutely not. I put 3% down.
Okay, that's what I'm going for. Exactly.
Yeah. Conventional financing, 3% down with closing cost. I think I was like cash to close, like $3,000 maybe.
Yeah.
It was my life savings.
But your $3,000 turned into how much money have you made on that condo?
No, it's disgusting. Well, I've since sold it.
Nice.
I bought it for 92. I sold it for like 250 something.
So $3,000 got you that profit.
I sold it 4 years later. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's
if we had a round of applause, like sound effects, that'd be going on right now because that's a killer first deal on that one.
It is, yeah. Yeah, it's a good one.
That's awesome. And then so you buy that, you still have that when you rent. Were you allowed to get a second mortgage for that second property? How did you build onto the second one?
After a year.
Okay, so after the year, you got the second mortgage, same thing, 3% down.
Yep.
Next one, year later.
I think I was having to do 5% because it went from FHA to conventional, but I mean, same thing, like super low down payment.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. And then how many did you get until you were like, all right, I want to go bigger. I want to make this serious? Because I know you traveled in there.
Yeah. So I went to travel and basically burned through all my life savings. I mean, come on, what do you do? I was young. It was fun. I was
24.
Yeah. So I actually met my wife during that year of travel, and she was coming from New York City. I was coming from Austin. We met traveling. We knew we didn't want to go back to either of those places. So like I said, I didn't really have a job, and she's freelance. Graphic designer. So she could work from anywhere, like literally anywhere. So it was like, where are you going to get a job? That's where we'll move.
Yeah.
So, big series of events, ended up in Columbus, Ohio. And I as a Texan, I joke about Texas public school. I couldn't even tell you where Ohio was on a map. And we're like, I Googled it. It's like top pet friendly city, top LGBT city. So we're like, yeah, cool. Okay. Like, let's do it.
Meet some qualifications there.
Yeah. That's all I need to know. Right. So
perfect.
We drive in, cars packed. We got the dog, everything. I drive in 10 minutes. I'm like, oh yeah, this is like basically Austin. Like the cities are just so similar.
Yeah.
And that was 7 years ago. So kind of fell in love. Honestly, if you guys don't know, if you are sleeping on Columbus, like Central Ohio is actually pretty cool. And this is coming from an Austinite who is like debatably like one of the coolest cities in the nation. And like Columbus is right, honestly, like right there.
Yeah, I've heard good things about Columbus, mainly with it being like the college town.
Yeah.
It's very I mean, it's transient, you get some tourists, but you have a lot of college kids, but it's still homey. So it's a big, like, eclectic cluster
It
of
is.
people
Yeah. We have
that make it
everything.
all work,
We
which
have
also
everything.
makes the rental market very, very good.
Yes, it is. And we'll get to that for sure. So move here for a job that is not in real estate. It's a commercial project management. I'm like building out bars and restaurants. So meeting a lot of people, but still very much working for someone else, working very hard for someone else. And this whole time I had sorry, go ahead.
Do you still have those 4 units in Austin at this point?
So I've sold 2.
Okay.
One to keep funding my travel, because like I told you, I spent all my money.
Yeah.
And the second one was actually to start a wholesale business.
Awesome.
Which I wish, obviously we look back and we're like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have sold that. I didn't even know what a refinance was. So I thought I had to sell it. I'm telling you.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah. Like I started buying real estate 10 years ago, but I didn't really know what I was doing until maybe 4 years ago. Like I was just totally winging it.
So for all those people that are too scared to jump into real estate,
Just do it.
it's possible. You're still standing. You're still successful.
Yeah.
You'll be okay.
Yeah, I made so many mistakes. Like if you thought of a mistake, I've made it. And I'm still here with a significant equity and like, yeah, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
So,
but sorry to interrupt you there. So you got your 2
yeah,
units that you're still long distance managing from Columbus. You are working full time.
Yep. Going to RIAs. I am meeting every person I can, because at this point I'm working really hard for someone else. Starting to figure out that working for someone else like doesn't fit for me, but I'm not going to make any rash decisions. So I spent 18 months going to RIAs, bigger pockets, studying everything I can before I come up for a interview or job. What's it called where you
Interview?
Raise, edit this out, y'all. What's it for your review meeting? What's that called?
The annual review?
Yeah, whatever it is.
Yeah,
PNP
works.
Yes. So I come up to my job review, annual review. There's a raise opportunity on the table. I asked for like what I'm already paid probably half of what I should be, and ask for like a insignificant raise in the scheme of everything, and I'm denied. So I'm like, okay, this job is never going to be what I want it to be. And I give my notice like at the review.
Like, really?
Well, if the answer is no,
Curveball.
No, I give them 60 days. I feel very generous. I wrapped up all my projects. We had a deadline on something. I said, I'll stay through this, whatever, but I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
So quit my job with really not much of a plan other than I know I'm going to make real estate work. Like that's my plan.
And that was when you're like, okay, I've done real estate for 7 years now, technically, passively, but not really as a career. Correct. And now I'm going to start taking it seriously.
Because even through moving to Columbus and starting to network, I didn't know real estate was a career. And that sounds like now, as someone who's very deep into the community, like, yeah, no shit, it's a career. But
yeah,
someone who had not one person in my life even owned the house outside of the house they lived in.
Yeah.
So I didn't know. And
yeah.
So I'm introduced to working for yourself and owning assets and, making money on assets. So, but it's a long-term play. You don't just start making significant money you can live on rentals on like day one, right?
Right.
So I started wholesaling. That was, I quit my job. I started wholesaling, direct to seller marketing. I was handwriting letters. You've heard the whole story of everyone is like, I was at my kitchen table, like did it all.
Yeah.
Made no money for 6 months. Finally got my first deal. $5,000 felt like all the money in the world, but it was enough to be like, okay, I actually can make this work.
Yeah.
So I think that first year we broke 6 figures, but like barely. Second year, like 250 maybe. And then I have now since stopped wholesaling. The last year was, just under 400K. And of course you have tons of expenses, and I had a team and all this, but
Yeah.
it like took off, right? And I was able to buy a lot of my own deals.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I had a pipeline. But wholesaling, do you guys do any direct seller marketing?
We do it for like the buy and holds. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we send out mailers, we do phone calls, that kind of thing.
It is a full-time job.
Dan loves it. I just talked to him yesterday because we're going through probates. So every county has probate listings that you can go through, and you can grab the web or the address, and then we use PropStream, which is like our CRM where you can skip trace, find contact information, and reach out to this
intimately.
Yeah. So for the listeners, that is what Dan did all day yesterday. And I called him. I was like, "Hey, how was your day?" And he was like, "Well, my eyes kind of hurt. It was just all clicking because you have to click to a screen, then you got to click off the screen, then you got to go to this screen, and then you got to and then it erased, and then you have to redo it. So it's very time consuming and it's tedious, but you get the contact information that you want that's out there. And I don't think we spent a single dollar like getting information for possible leads. It's all free on the county website. So
yeah, if you have time.
Yeah.
If you don't have time, but you have some money, you can also just pay. You can either do it yourself or pay someone. So we were paying. I was paying someone like towards the end. In the beginning, I was doing it all myself, but
yeah. And now they got virtual assistants, which I don't think they had back then. So you could pay virtual assistants to do it, but don't tell Dan that.
It's like $6 an hour. I'll connect you.
Right. And do you find them on Fiverr or something, right?
I have like an
Upwork
that I go through, but yeah.
So that was through your wholesaling business part.
Yeah.
You were obviously selling some and then buying your own.
Yes.
How long did the wholesaling thing work or last? I guess
we just stopped. I started 2018. We just stopped early this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Is that because you built up enough of your own personal portfolio where you're like, I don't really want to do it anymore?
That's partially. And honestly, it kind of everything we had been successful at in the past 4 years kind of stopped working, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because we were just Columbus, Central Ohio is so saturated. It's like top real estate market. So like all the virtual wholesalers are here. Like everyone's here. Sellers just got numb. They just got numb to it. So it stopped working. And I was spending more. I mean, and maybe I wasn't pivoting and I wasn't, because there's still tons of people who are successful, but what I was doing wasn't working. I did not want to try to figure it out again. So I let it go and I just buy from other wholesalers in the MLS.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've bought almost 20 units this year, and that's without my own wholesaling.
Awesome. And are those all single family? Do those go into multifamily as well?
So like, portfolio, as of today, we're about 70 units, and it's about a quarter small apartments, 6 units and under, and then 3/4 single family.
Awesome. That's a good little mix in there.
I honestly prefer single family. Central Ohio.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome.
Majority Columbus, majority inside like the outer belt. But we have some, and we're branching out a bit just because it's so competitive here.
Why do you prefer single family? Just out of curiosity.
I have a few reasons. So people stay longer.
Yeah.
We are very pet friendly. Like I told you, when I was even looking at Columbus, first thing I Googled was, pet friendly, huge animal lover. So I would never have a unit where pets aren't allowed. Like that doesn't make sense for me. So, with backyards, people stay longer. They take care of the place. Typically it's more homey.
Yeah.
But yeah. So honestly, what it comes out to is they take ownership and they stay longer.
I have the exact same philosophy because I allow pets in all of my units. And even the ones that I don't own, but we manage. Like I always talk to the owner about allowing it because my philosophy is, all right, if this person's going to come in and take care of this animal, one, they're going to take care of the place around it, because like no one wants to live in filth.
Well, some people do, but
Some people do,
That's
but more
debatable.
often that when they have an animal, I don't know, I feel like they care a little bit more about the things that they
Yeah.
have in their home.
And there's some general element of responsibility. Like, you've kept an animal alive, you probably
Right.
can like not burn my house down.
Right. Like,
But
you have a dog at
maybe you
home.
will.
You're not going to be gone for 4 to 5 days. You're going to be home every night. You're going to be
Right.
around.
Right.
So I have the same philosophy. I've always had that philosophy. In getting into it, it's amazing how many landlords are like, oh, I would never allow dogs or cats. And I was like, oh, well, I must be wrong, or I'm just going to do
you're
it
not
my
wrong.
way.
No, you're not wrong. I think, animal lovers are generally just, not that people who don't love animals are bad people, but they're just, good people,
More
I want to raise
compassionate.
people like me.
Yeah.
Yeah, compassionate, thoughtful,
Mm-hmm.
proactive. There's a lot of qualities that kind of overlap. So another thing is responsibility for exterior. A big one for us is like pest control. So a multifamily, the biggest nightmare I've had has been pest control, because one person brings in bugs from their, they move in, their past apartment had roaches, they bring the roaches, and then everyone's pointing, oh no, it was them, it was them, it was them. You have to hear interpersonal, like, so-and-so parked in my parking spot. Like, I don't care. Go knock on their door, sort it
More
out.
of a mediator and then than a landlord.
Yeah.
Or owner.
Single family, if someone brings roaches, we have an inspection done before you move in. I'm not paying for that. You're paying for that, my friend. So I just honestly prefer single family.
So then obviously you got to find good deals or good numbers when you're acquiring the property up front, because depending on what capital you're putting in, if you're going to be financing, like especially now, trying to find a single family with the numbers working to pull in the rent to cover or to possibly cash flow.
Yeah.
It seems to be more and more difficult to find. I think maybe I'm just looking at the wrong spots.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. So obviously interest rate hikes in the last year have put a damper on cash flow. There are so many reasons to buy real estate, and cash flow is amazing. And I got started living on cash flow. Like, it's all I knew. I didn't even know the other benefits. But now that I know, we have appreciation, principal pay down, someone's paying your mortgage for you, tax advantages. I mean, I don't know if I should brag, but like, our taxes are basically zero. Like, I mean, our CPA, it's well within the law, but I don't pay federal income tax because we have enough assets to offset it, right? So that's tens of thousands of dollars saved every year, right? There's all these benefits that are not just cash flow. So everyone's like, well, you're making $100 a month. Yeah, today, you're right. I am. And it's not great. And I'm not super happy about that. But am I going to not take the $100 in exchange for all these benefits and long term? You know what I mean? Like, so I'm still buying. It's just it's not as cool as it was like even a year ago.
Yeah, absolutely. So going back to you going from the amateur leagues to professional leagues.
Yeah.
Because obviously this podcast is supposed to be a motivation for those people wanting to get into real estate. You said you weren't taking it seriously, and then you quit your job. You're like, all right, I'm making my way to the pros here. What's the number one advice you'd give those people that are on the fence, that are like, I want to do real estate, but haven't jumped in yet? Like, what made you a professional? Not physically what you were doing, not because I got a team of people, like mentally, what made you that professional level that you were like, all right, I'm going to care more now, or I'm going to take this seriously now?
Yeah. So flat out, hands down, getting plugged into a community of other investors, like, period. I mean, I learn something new every single day, but when I first started networking, like, my mind was like a black hole, it's just like expanding faster than like my mind was just soaking up every single piece of information. And there was a transition that was like, like I said, from not seeing anyone who's ever made real estate a career to now being plugged in with hundreds of people who are doing this daily. Like, it was just an absolute switch.
Yeah. And that was Bigger Pockets. Was that the first community?
So the
Or was it
first
the RIAs?
networking that in person that I was doing was it's CORE. It's Central Ohio. No, Vina Jones Cox. She's nationwide. She's awesome, but she's, you know, here in Cincinnati, Columbus, and has like 200 people at each meeting. Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
Nationwide speakers. You know, CORE's fantastic. If you're in Central Ohio, I recommend.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So that, I mean, there's like food provided. So it's not just you walk in, hear a speaker. It's like, you're actually like at a table with people. You're seeing like, okay, you do real estate as a career and you're a normal human being. It's not just someone on the stage, it's your peers, you know? And
Yeah.
so you're like, if you can do it,
Yeah.
I can definitely do it.
Yeah. I remember going to one of those RIAs when I was in college still, because my dad was doing some rent to own stuff.
Okay.
And I went with them one time, and they had one section where it was just the one mic they had up. Someone would come up and be like, hey, I'm looking for a property that does X, Y, Z. Thank you. And then he'd hand the mic off to the next person. And the next person would be like, I'm selling a property that's this, this, and this. And then they'd hand the mic off. And I was like, is this how it is every week? And they're like, yeah. And then they'll be done. And then you can go up and talk to whoever you want. You just make a deal and everyone's friendly, and then go get coffee over here.
Yeah.
It's like, wow. So they're all competitors in my mind,
Yeah.
but they're all friends.
Totally.
And like, that's how it works. Like the pool is big enough for everybody to swim around and have their space. So everybody, and I've never met anybody that would be like, I'm not going to help you because you're working in my market.
No, I mean, there are people like that, but I would not. I mean, I would say I am by.
That's the minority of group of
super
investors.
minority. Yeah.
Yeah. So
If you
for
meet
people
that
that are
person,
scared
just move
that their
on.
market is flooded,
No.
like you're still working in that market as well, aren't you? From where you wholesaled?
Yeah.
So you've been there for 7 years. It hasn't been too inundated with we'll call them newcomers, the outsiders.
No, there's a lot of newcomers. I get this question a lot actually, because I have like a mentorship program where I teach people how to buy and manage long-term rentals. And a lot of our students are in Columbus. So I'm asked constantly, like, aren't you worried about like training your competitors? I'm like, no, I want them to buy the houses, all the crappy houses next to the houses I own, because let's all, you know, all ships rise, right? So your efforts on this property are going to help my property. Like, let's go.
Right. There was a guy on Bigger Pockets when I started listening. He was determined to buy every house on this row, like, because all of the houses were bad.
Yeah.
And he bought the first one and he pumped a lot of money into it, overbuilt. And I don't know if it was because of necessity he did that or because he wanted to build it the way he wanted to build it, but he overbuilt it. And he was renting it, and then he bought the next one and rehab that one, bought the next one, rehabbed it. And then by the fourth one he flipped, he had done so well in the neighborhood that now his first investment that lost him money actually made him a bunch of money.
You set your own comms.
Right.
Yeah.
It was very, very cool. And it was a cool story because as I'm in it in the amateur levels, I'm like, man, he's playing chess. And I'm here like, all right, I got to pick out paint color.
Yeah.
And he's so farther down the road. But it's super cool because you get to that level and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, it's been 7 years. And now I'm doing those things, which is
it does.
cool.
It feels like both a lifetime and a blink of an eye.
Yes, agreed.
Right.
Yeah.
Agreed. All right. So with this education stuff that you were talking about, educating your competitors,
Yes.
you do have a training course.
I do. Yes.
Is that local to your market or is that nationwide?
Nationwide.
Okay.
Nationwide. So we do have quite a few students in Columbus, just because those are the people that I knew first. But it's probably about 50-50 Central Ohio versus nationwide.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you teach principles or do you actually get on the phone call and, all right, you're in Austin. I'm just bringing in Austin because you were there. So you work in Austin. This is what your market looks like. You go over numbers with them, or do you kind of give them a baseline hey, these are the principles of real estate. Now you can go make it your own.
So both.
Okay.
We have I have multiple different offers, anywhere from like absolute newbie. So, I built my portfolio using the Brrrr method, buy, renovate, rent, repeat, refinance, repeat. I say it all the time. So I have Brrrr for beginners, and that's like 3.5 hours of mini lessons, like 65 mini lessons, and 2 calls every month, like group calls, $7 a month, super accessible. I want everyone to be able to like understand the fundamentals of, in the language, a shared language of the model that has like allowed me to do this. Right. And then if you're you're like, okay, this is fantastic. I understand the language. I understand the concept. Like, now I want to do something. I have a 90-day challenge to buy your first rental. And it is like week by week and group session, weekly calls, hold your hand. I'm like, this week, learn this, do this homework. Learn this, do this homework. We go over deal sources, money, team building, like deep dive into the calculator, 3 full weeks of just offers. You're in contract, your due diligence, like it's 90 days, like step by step, gets you, from newbie to property owner.
That's exciting.
Yeah. And people freaking do it, y'all. Like of course, some people fall off, their lives happen, whatever. But the folks that like make it to the end, it's like 70% buy a property. Like, it's crazy.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like even more impressed with the outcome is better than I ever imagined building this out. Yeah. So it's been good.
Where did you think it was going to take you? I'm curious, because like when you start a training course like that, you don't know who's going to be receptive to it or who's going to go. But
yeah, I mean, I kind of did because I built it backwards. So the next thing that we have is a 12-month mastermind. And I had so many people wanting to join the mastermind, but they didn't have a property yet. So it actually, like, the 90-day challenge came out of necessity from so many people saying, I want to do this, but like, what am I even going to talk about? Because I don't have a property.
Yeah.
So I did have actually quite a good idea of like what type of person would want to join. Yeah. And it's those like go-getters who've done the research and they're tired of talking about it and dreaming about it, and they're ready to like do it, but want their hand held. So that's kind of the perfect, the person who's going to see the most success.
Yeah. And I think Bigger Pockets was analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
That analysis paralysis mode where you keep looking at it and you're like, I wasn't looking at you, Dan.
I was looking at you, Dan.
But the people that go over the numbers and go over MLS and like, oh, we could go look at this house and we could do that, and then never make a jump on a house or something. It happens. Yeah. But I mean, I was in that phase for a while when I was working the full-time job and life was happening, and I was always like checking out Zillow because I wasn't an agent at that point. So I'd check out Zillow and Renter or Realtor.com for whatever house is on the market. And then I'd run the numbers. And that was something that the Bigger Pockets, who was the host at that point? Because it wasn't David Green.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It costs you no money to analyze deals. So analyze 10 tonight and then analyze 10 tomorrow. And at the end of the week, you'll have 50 analyzed, and now you're 50 ahead of the game. Yeah. I was like, oh, that's pretty simple. I guess I can do that. And then it all just kind of happened where, all right, now I got some funding available. And I was like, all right, now I have to jump. And if I don't jump now, I'm not going to do it. And mine came off a mailer, which was kind of sweet.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, good work.
I know it happens.
Yeah.
I lost my track of where this all ended because I went on a segue here. And then I made fun of Dan, and then I lost it.
We have the 90-day challenge for those who like understand what they're trying to do. They just like need help getting there, right? And then if you think of the Brrrr circle, that's the B. And then for those who buy a property or already have a portfolio, we have a 12-month mastermind. It's called Rentals Made Easy. And my whole model is self-management. Like, I dabbled in property management. I'm sure you guys do an absolutely lovely job, but ultimately what I found was that no one would care about my asset like I do. Mm-hmm. Flat out. Sure. So we teach self-management all the way. So, 90-day challenge is the B. Then we teach the renovate, rent, refinance, repeat.
Yeah.
And that's 12 months of support. We have 3 weekly calls, all the resources you ever need, tons of on-demand videos. It's pretty elaborate.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good community.
That's very cool. And obviously with your investing style, it's got to be local if you're going to manage your own properties. Ooh, how do you manage? All right, what's the farthest distance that you own a property that you self-manage?
Austin.
Oh, you still own some of those in Austin?
I sold 2 of the 3. I have the one left.
Okay.
My parents are getting older, and I don't want to pay today's prices. So I will probably end up back there at some point, for a couple of years. So I'm just hanging on to this last one, and I'll sell it at some point. But for now, it's good.
Yeah. So how do you go around managing that property in Austin? Like if something happens,
Team.
what do you do?
Team. I kind of joke that I remote manage my portfolio here. I mean, I don't go.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were like, oh darn, I gotta go to Austin again next week to take care of this at the property. Like I get to
absolutely
go.
not. Absolutely not. So, but same even in Columbus, like y'all, I'm not going. I care very much, but I just hire people to do the walkthroughs and whatever I need.
Yeah, it's the community. You have your own community that you rely on, and you're kind of creating that with your own mastermind course.
Yeah.
So that number one advice you were giving to these newbies
Community.
that were coming in was community. So if you're looking for one, I know somebody. Jessie's got a community going.
Yeah, it's fun. It's great. This has been, you've kind of heard a bit about my career, but of everything I've done, and I'm not super old or anything, like I have like decades of experience, but in every single thing I've done in my entire life, building the community we have with the Rentals Made Easy has been like hands down the thing I'm the most proud of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's impressive because
It's been really fun.
You can build a portfolio, and that is, I don't know, that's more analytical. That's finding which puzzle piece you need to place and you make a puzzle. To create a movement or a culture.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of time and a lot of energy. So to be able to do that and to be able to cultivate that, like big kudos for you on that one.
Thank you.
That is very difficult. And it's hard because you talked about drop off. Some of the people don't make it to the end. And I'm sure that doesn't feel great. And
no, it doesn't. Maybe I shouldn't say this, but we're like pretty flexible. Like if someone needs to come back at a later date, like, I just genuinely want you to succeed. So if it takes a little bit longer than 90 days, like I'm not too fussed. But I shouldn't say that. You guys, 90 days, you got to stick to it.
There's no other options. You have 90 days or you're out.
Yeah.
But if you need more time, it's okay.
No, if you show up to everything, we actually do have a guarantee. So if you show up to everything and you do all the homework and you haven't bought a property, I'll keep working with you for free until you do.
Yeah.
That if you drop off and stop doing the work, though, there's not much I can do to help you.
Right.
Yeah.
Accountability.
Accountability, baby.
It's big.
Yeah.
And that brings me to a question that I forgot I wanted to ask. Is there any, for these people that want to join your community, like pre-qualifications? Because I'm trying to think of people listening to the show like, oh, I want to contact Jessie, but I have a full-time job, or my credit score is too low, or I don't have capital. I couldn't buy a house in 90 days because I have no money.
So Marcus, you nailed it. Those are the exact 3 things that we look at. There is like you nailed it. There is a pre-qualification call and like a little quiz that you do to join the 90-day challenge. We look for credit score. I mean, if your credit is absolutely in the tank, spend 6 months trying to work on that. And
which time out from you, we had a podcast guest who will help you with the credit score so that you can join Jessie's course. You just got to look back, and we'll plug the episode in at the show notes.
Yeah, will you? Because I
that?
Because we have students that probably could use a little boost.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So we do look at credit because you're not going to get qualified for any type of loan, hard money, private money, without some credit worthiness.
Yeah.
We look for 3 to 5 hours a week in available time. there's one live call, but then outside of that, it can be done like on your timeline. But if you don't have 3 to 5 hours a week, you honestly should reevaluate a lot of your life to begin with, because that is like not a big commitment. And then we look.
I'm sure they watch more TV than 2 to 3
literally.
hours.
I'm sure if you looked at like your social media use,
Yeah.
you can find 3 to 5 hours.
Yes.
And then the last thing we look for is about 25,000 in available capital.
Okay.
So it does not have to be your money. We just say access to capital. It could be a spouse, family, friend, whatever. We teach you how to talk to that person, how to, structure the lending and all that. But you can't just not have anyone who says you can buy real estate with no money. You can. Yes.
It's very hard.
It's advanced. That's
very hard.
advanced. You're not
You
coming
got to
in
be a
on your first
salesperson.
deal.
You got to be in sales.
Yeah.
You got to sell yourself and the reason why, and please borrow me this or.
Yeah. And my guess is these people that are fighting to find 3 to 5 hours are not going to have the fire in their belly to do the hustle of no money down.
Right. Yeah. So we like to see it doesn't have to be like cash in your bank account today. It could be in a HELOC. It could be in a 401k, but access to at least 25,000 in capital to start buying.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to help you get into anything without that.
We should do a challenge for myself.
Come on.
We got a new customer here.
Yeah. Come on down. But no, you know a lot. This is like hold your hand every step of the way. You get to hang out with me for 12 weeks straight.
Oh, I don't tell Dan any of the secret spice. I
You
just
don't
put
tell
on
him?
probate cases.
So I think I meet the qualifications. I just, like you said, it's the analysis paralysis, always looking to see or making sure that you're getting the right one. And do you want to do a single family or do you want to do duplex or whatever it is? And I don't know, like it makes me think like, why the heck did I just sell my house 3 years ago? Why didn't I just rent that and then buy this one? But doing that helped put us in a better position financially where we are. Paid off a bunch of stuff. The only thing we have now is our mortgage, essentially. Like no credit card debt, none of that stuff. So I even during COVID like sold my car just because I'm like, why am I paying $400 a month for this car plus insurance and whatever? And then I just got not a beater, but I got a good old car that's reliable. So it's like, I don't need those expenses.
Right. And now a beater is $400 a month with rates. Like, dang it. We had to buy 2 new cars this year.
Oh, man. That's a tax write-off, right? The business expense.
Well, they're both very frugal cars. Don't get excited.
Okay.
That sounded way cooler than it was. It's like a Prius. Come on.
I was gonna say, was it beginning of this year or the end of this year where you get this? If it's over 6,000 pounds of gross weight, you can take
That's
the
every year.
tax. I thought it was there was
People would buy like G-Wagons and stuff, and
because they're over 6,000 or a big Ram truck.
No, buy an asset.
Right.
Still a liability. Don't care.
Right.
Still a liability.
Yep.
So until your assets pay for that, you have no business buying that car.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
No, it makes sense. Very valid.
So
interesting.
He's contemplating.
Yeah, I am.
I think we need to get a little bit of where Jessie was in the beginning, where she just bought it and was like, let's see where this takes us. And then years later, you can move into the professional level.
Yeah.
The amateur mindset, but the professional mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
Dan, we'll get you going sooner than that.
So for people other than Dan that want to get a hold of you, what is the best way to do that? So we can put that in the show notes so people can reach out.
So we have a Facebook group that I do weekly live trainings, all sorts of topics, anything from lending, deal finding. We bring on guests, talk about a lot about mindset. I'm like, mindset, honestly, like I can teach you the structure and strategy all day. You can get all of that on YouTube. You got to piece it together and all that. But one thing that we offer that like so many don't is the mindset and the perseverance, and like shit is going to go wrong. If you think you're going to join, start buying real estate, nothing's going to go wrong. Just don't buy real estate.
Yeah.
It definitely is. But the mindset in the community, we talk so much about that. It's called Unlocked. Learn to buy and manage long-term rentals. We can put a link here, but that's where you find me pretty much every day.
Awesome. Yeah, we will link that to the show notes so that people can get a hold of you. Otherwise, we're coming up on our hour. I don't want to keep you any longer than it was, but thank you so much for the time. It's been great and a wild adventure.
Absolutely.
I would like, are you still buying right now? Or are you kind of more on the training room?
No.
Okay.
I'm doing both. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm kicking around. I don't know okay, I need your advice. I'm kicking around. Do I buy a challenge next year, 52 properties in 52 weeks?
Ooh.
I like go back and forth. Sometimes I'm like, yes, let's do it. And then other times I wake up in the middle of the night in like a sweat and I'm like, what am I thinking? This is insane.
Man. And where the market is right now, for me, that seems daunting.
What about a progression?
It is.
Like,
we're moving into a new local market.
Okay.
Yeah. Columbus, that couldn't happen in Columbus. But we're looking at a smaller kind of metro outside of Columbus.
Okay.
Where it very well could. And we have quite a few students. This is what we were talking about, like when everyone buys in the same neighborhood and increases the value. We have a little pod of our students that we're all moving into the market together. And we're going to like kind of like build the same team, like just sweep it, increase rents, yeah.
crazy.
That's awesome. Then it seems like you can do it.
I
if
think
you
I
got
can
the
do
team
it.
behind it, I say go for it.
Okay. I don't know. I need to figure it out like right now, basically, because it starts in like 4 weeks.
What about a progression? Instead of like one a week, start with like one a month for like the first month or two, and then do one every 2 weeks, and then like after 6 month period, do like one every week, and like just.
Well, I already built the machine.
Okay.
The machine exists. It's just, do I want to plug properties in that fast? We could do it. It's just, do I want to do it?
You didn't create the ship to not set it sail.
I know.
So you want to.
I know.
And you've never, through all of this whole hour-long podcast, I didn't hear one brake pedal. And then right at the end, you're teasing us with the brake pedal, maybe? You can't do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I needed to hear that. See? Mindset.
So we will check with you next year to see how this 52-52 challenge is going.
You need to follow up with me actually like mid-January. You can't wait till the end of the year. Yeah.
All right. Now it's live. It's on the podcast. Mid-January, we're checking with you.
Okay.
And you better have an update.
Okay.
That's where it is.
You should be 2 in by then, 2 or 3 in.
I know. It's crazy. I know. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much.
Yes.
Yeah, no problem. Thank
Very
you.
fun.
Thanks for giving us the time. It's awesome.
Yeah,
and for any of the people out there that want to get into real estate, definitely suggest reach out to Jessie. That sounds like an awesome program for people that are going to get going.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, thanks very much. Have a good weekend and a happy holidays.
See ya.
Thank you.
Bye.